Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope that everyone out there is doing absolutely fantastic and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. There's a brand new video every single gosh darn day, and it's been that way for just about almost a decade. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Something has changed. There's movement in the air. We're in a different, well, yeah, we are actually in a different season, but it feels like the mindset, the idea of crypto has dramatically changed in a very short period of time. I mean, this goes actually pretty deep. I don't know how far we're going to go in this particular video. One of the core ideas for Bitcoin, for crypto, has generally always been, if Bitcoin keeps rising in price, if people within the market, the cryptocurrency space, continue to choose Bitcoin over fiat currencies, over real estate, over gold, eventually this would cause a bit of a shift, a dramatic reworking of the system, if you will, where basically wealth is held within Bitcoin / crypto. That's logically been the thing. We've been going over even more recently. There's no way for Bitcoin to get to $1 million per coin without the old system like actually actively collapsing, falling into itself on one side. This is how you get to a multi-trillion-dollar market cap. Every time, every dollar that gets put into Bitcoin, that gets put into crypto, and not another investment, shows the force of Bitcoin. People choosing not to buy real estate, not to buy gold, not to buy silver, not to buy Charizard cards, lends to the idea that they choose and believe in Bitcoin more than other investments and more than the old system. We used to, this is a really weird time warp kind of thing. We've been having a few of those the last couple of weeks, where a lot of the news that we're getting now is very reminiscent of many moons ago, where we would hear these stories of, is Bitcoin strong enough to, push aside the old traditional market? Could cryptos actually replace banks and all these other things? If you missed recently, we had a news story. Oh gosh, what was it? There was a news story about banks who are trying to stop people from earning a yield on their stablecoin. Stablecoin just being a completely random idea. But they were saying, and the idea is, if banks are giving you 1.1% on your money that you have with them, but Tether and Circle, etc., can offer you 3, 4, 5, 6.5%. Well, why would you keep your money in the bank? We spoke about that last year. This was like at the advent of the discussions about stable coins kind of being everywhere and being super popular and being all over. That was already a thing that we were talking about. That's because, as I've stated before, if you've been in crypto for a couple of years, you should get it. If you're relatively new here, you might not really understand what all of this is actually about. If the old system is so bad and we have a new system that can get away from it, why would you not choose the new system? If we're seeing banks beginning to buckle under the idea, imagine how fragile your system, your bank, anything has to be if you don't want people to earn money somewhere else. Think about that. No. We want these people to stay with us. You have to earn your 1.4% per year. The idea of you getting extra free money for doing nothing, absolutely nothing, terrifies them because it would cause people to simply move over to a new system. Imagine when Uber has a coin, Amazon has a coin, Facebook is making another coin. In case you missed that, they're making another stable coin. And all these other platforms, let's say 5-6 years into the future. Now, let's say you decide to use like Uber coin or whatever, I want to use this one. It works in many other ecosystems. I'll stick to this coin. And they have a thing on their platform that says, as long as you hold this coin in your Uber wallet, we'll give you 6% per year as a return. And you realize you start getting a bunch of like free rides and a bunch of like free food just because you held their coin. The banks can't do that. And I mean, that is like surface level of what we're talking about. It's the same exact thing with earning a yield on Bitcoin and XRP. What's the point of keeping your money in a bank account or somewhere else, or keeping it in the old system? If you see the valuations of these coins rising and you see that you are making passive income from doing absolutely nothing, what then happens to the old system? Credit rating agency, they are called Moody's, Moodys, has announced in its report that cryptocurrency adoption in developing countries could put monetary policy sovereignty and financial resilience at risk. When you hear something like that, what do you think? Like, what's the thing that enters your mind? We used to have news like this, and I mean 2017, 18, 19, roughly around there. And a lot of times, the articles would frame things like this, like the idea of monetary policy. We think that aligns to us. No, it means the things that have kept the rich people in power for so long would begin to crumble. What happens when the power from the top of the pyramid begins to crumble? It falls down onto the people below it. The idea of the people who print and make money, they only have power because they print and make money. What happens when everyone is able to do so? When everyone is able to own some Ether, some XRP, some Bitcoin, some Tron, some Solana, some Cardano, and you can stake it. The old idea of monetary policies don't really count anymore. The idea of waiting with bated breath to see what the Fed is going to do. Well, my money's not in US dollars or fiat. Why would I care what they're doing to their system? Interest rates are rising. Well, guess whose interest rate did not rise? Bitcoin's monetary policy didn't change. Cardano's issuance system did not shift. Ethereum actually got even more deflationary the moment they announced that news. The financial risk, for those of you who don't know, has to do with the old system. Why would a bank have a problem with you taking your money and putting it somewhere else where you could make more money? We've been told for hundreds and hundreds of years plus, the only safe way to, you have to have a bank holding your money. And then we see the bank stealing our money. The bank's making, if you missed the other video, in that same discussion about why the banks don't want stablecoin issuers to be able to offer a yield, it has to do with bank deposits. They would see their bank deposits falling and the banked money moving into other systems. The money, so what banks do is actively, like, this isn't a joke, this isn't a so-and-so, they use the money that you give them, that you hand over to them. Please hold on to this, thank you. They pool all of that money together and they invest it in different things around the world. The article said banks last year made $146 billion with your money. They take your money, they put it into different markets and different things. This is why they're also like the idea of a bank run. And people go, if everyone went to the bank, remember 2008, 2009? Everyone went to the bank, give me my money. And they said, no, we can't do that. Are you catching on to why? Because the money isn't there. They literally use the money that you give them to invest in other things. They're not expecting at any given time for everyone to take all of their money out, because it would literally collapse the system because they don't have that much money. That's going to be a huge thing in the next couple of years when more and more money moves into crypto and people try and take their money out of their bank accounts and they find out that like the banks usually only have around 10 to 15. This is a real thing. Banks are only required to have a fragment of the money that they say that they have. The idea is, let's say you have $7,000, $128,000, $54,000 in your bank account, random numbers. They're expecting on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that you might take out 100 or 200. You might go shopping for something, but at no point do you plan on taking all of your money out of the bank. We've been conditioned to believe that that's scary. It's something terrifying. We need to keep all of our money inside of the bank. So, as more people move their money from other assets and their bank accounts, if you weren't here in 2017, there were discussions about, first of all, a lot of banks in 2017 weren't allowing people to invest in crypto. I know some of you are like, yeah, I remember that. So what was happening was, let's say you use your own bank account, your own money you've been saving for a couple of years, and you decided in 2017 to put $300 into XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Do you know what would happen to your bank account? It would get frozen, or it would get locked, or the bank that you were using would deem that you were doing something fraudulent. That sounds like a joke, but that's what was happening for a very long time. Anyone moving money into a crypto exchange or out of a crypto exchange had their money frozen. Because the idea was, if they're moving their money from our bank into crypto, Bitcoin's at $1,000, Bitcoin goes to $18,000, people are rushing to put their money into crypto. The entire system is fragile. The entire system is created to keep us at bay. The entire thing is basically meant for us to go, well, we don't have any other choice, so we have to use this. This is why you're noticing we're getting a lot more news stories about like financial risk because of crypto. This would disrupt monetary policy. This would actually change things with... It has nothing to explicitly do with us. It's the people who have created this terrible monetary system that we have losing power. The report noted that this risk increases as cryptocurrencies go beyond being just an investment tool and are now being used for savings and money transfers. There's a lot of stuff happening in Latin America and in Africa, and also in parts like very far Eastern Europe, and also in Russia. This is the news that we had years ago. It's why there's so much news about Russia potentially still thinking about trying to ban cryptos in some form or fashion. What's happening is that other currencies are, if the US dollar is inflating, other currencies are also like inflating. So in a lot of countries, people are actually just using crypto as a form of savings, and they're using stable coins as their actual like money that they're using. It's stable. It has a constant value. It's always meant to be one, if you will. So what a lot of people in countries are doing now is that they're actually accumulating Bitcoin, Satoshis and XRP and Ethereum and other coins. They're watching the values of them grow, and then they're like taking, some of that money, putting it into stable coins to actually, pay for stuff, to pay for clothing, to pay for food. What has been circumvented here? It's the banks. Also, fiat currencies. It's a complete movement away from them. What happens if Bitcoin goes to $380,000? The belief in Bitcoin potentially, essentially triples. If that happens for you, imagine in other people in developing countries or people who just don't have it as good as we do. They start throwing more money into it because Bitcoin's at 380,000. I heard rumors it's going to go to 1.5 million. We can 5x our money. We can't do that if we worked for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Let's start throwing more money into it. Bitcoin's price goes to 2.2 million. Bitcoin is a figurehead in the financial world. Imagine people in other countries being able to put in small amounts of money, and I'm going to use Bitcoin for the actual example. And Bitcoin's price continues to rise, and they essentially see the money that they're making would have taken them years to make. Now, what do you throw on top of that? Staking. Imagine you are able to, the Bitcoin that you've been accumulating, and the more that you accumulate, you start staking it. Have you ever seen those things where people around the world, like this is a real thing, where people around the world, like they will make $1, $3, or $5 per day. Like they struggle, but it is technically enough to keep the lights on, to buy food for their small family, what have you. Now imagine passively that family starts making $7 per day from their Bitcoin. $2 more than the $5 that they were making, that they were, living off of. They still continue to go to work, and now they have $12 per day. Bitcoin's price doubles and triples over the course of the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. That family goes, we are making more from this than we actually were from working. Their entire lives become better. They start having enough money to be able to even buy like small plots of land. This is when you hear me say, like, I hope more people figure this out. This is what I mean. Rich people got it. They figured this out back in 2014, where all of this was going to go. That's why they want all the Bitcoin. This is why they want all the crypto, so that they can control it and have this form of passive income. If you get 1 billion people into this market and they start putting money into it and prices go up and we get to a multi-trillion-dollar, market cap for Bitcoin and stuff like that, how do you keep these people at bay if they are in control of their own money? How do you make sure that they need to work for pennies? We don't have to do that. We have Bitcoin. I'm also staking some Ether. Did you guys see, 4 years ago, we had, staking on XRP. We're getting around $18 per day now. I can send my kids to school. I'm actually going to start a business. I think, we're going to buy up some more land and start building a little house for ourselves. This is the risk. Do you understand? That's what these banks are talking about. They're not talking about our lives getting any worse. It's actually the exact opposite. That's what deflation for Bitcoin does. Relatively to other things, they become less expensive next to Bitcoin's price and valuation in Satoshis. It's better for the people. Moody's argued that the proliferation of dollar-denominated stablecoins in particular, and the increasing use of pricing and payments in currencies other than local currencies, could weaken the monetary policy transmission mechanism. This, it added, could reduce transparency and regulatory visibility, creating pressures for cryptocurrency akin to unofficial dollarization. What happens if everyone is using another system and we don't have to rely on what the Fed says? If we don't have to listen to these monetary policies? We don't have to care that the dollar inflated 14% in that year. My crypto actually went up in price. Yeah, I see the dollar's doing terrible. Yeah, no, we're all doing fine. In contrast, crypto adoption in developed economies is reportedly advancing largely due to institutional consolidation and regulatory clarity. Okay. According to the report, it says 2024. I assume maybe that's 2026. I'm not sure. It says approximately 562 million people worldwide will be using crypto. It says by 2024. I assume this next year, representing a 33% annual increase. Never forget how early you are in this market. Never forget that crypto is made for the people and not these wealthy people who are trying to buy and hoard all of it. We are at the point where we could live in a completely different world. It's just about everyone kind of waking up and actually looking at the possibilities. There's a reason why we've had a lot from banks recently. If you missed those, I think 2 UK banks and I think 1 in the States and 1 somewhere else. And they all had the same exact thing. They said, we are at the point where cryptocurrencies are becoming so popular that they're going to outshine fiat currencies. So just remember, the opportunity that you have before you in this market. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.